Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel. I hope y'all are doing well. Man, does time fly by. We are already into February, which means we are going into my favorite segment, Romance Month. That's right, I'm going to be discussing love in general, not just couples, but I'll still be able to talk more about couples more than usual in this month. However, I decided to make things a bit more interesting with these kinds of couples. Since we are being more open to the LGBTQ, especially in the media, I thought it'd be cool to actually talk about some LGBTQ couples that resided in some cartoons. I'm going to do them based on how great their relationship is, the potentials they have later on, as well as what it means as a whole. So, bear in mind there will be some spoilers in this, and these are just my opinions alone. You don't have to agree with every single one of them. But again, there will be spoilers in these cartoons, so if you have not watched them, please do. Without further ado, let's begin. Yeah! Okay, I understand how many people feel about this ship, but I felt like it's still. So, in the pilot version, Stolas comes off as a bit of a cringy yet funny character who seems to have a very unhealthy obsession with Blitz, and their relationship is a little bit of a taboo considering that Stolas is demon royalty, and Blitz is a regular run-of-the-mill imp that is considered low class. So, yeah, their dynamic at first was something that many people kinda cringed on. And believe me, if they continued with the same formula, I don't think I would have felt that way either. But to be fair with the writers of Hell the Boss, at least they managed to get something set up that makes it a little bit of a saving grace. So one of them is being that you get to learn that Stolas and Blitz had met as childhood friends, and that in some ways they helped each other in more ways than one. So to back this up a little bit, when Stolas was just a young kid, he was just so excited and eager to actually carry on the family Goetian name and ready to take on his duties. However, when his horrible father shows him who he has to marry, well, he was pretty much upset about that concept and didn't think that his duties were all that glamorous as he'd hoped. So on one fateful day on his birthday, he soon meets Blitzo, a very child clown imp that wants nothing more than to have fun as well as help his family. So of course along the way we begin to learn more about Stolas and the kind of life he leads. As well for Blitz, it still needs some work, but we're getting some idea. Anyway, these two became the most interesting pair, and that's why I put them in number 5, because the relationship is complicated. So, you have Blitz, who comes off as a bit manipulative when it comes to Stolas and the favors he needs to give, of course, due to the circumstances behind all that, as well as he has some very complicated relationships. Veronica being one of them. I know I should sympathize with Veronica because Blitzo ditched her and left her paying for the hotel and stole her credit cards, but at the same time, she was petty with the approach of how to handle it all. However, Blitz is not without his caring side, as I said before in the ranking of the Hellbops couples. He really cares about his team. He does get ticked off whenever Moxie's in a dangerous situation and just wants the best for Luna. The more you learn about his history, the more you do feel bad for Blitz. The emotional pain this poor guy is going through, and some that we have yet to learn. What Blitzo's going to be dealing with, well, we're probably going to be buckling up for some tears and pain. And in a lot of subtle ways, Blitz really enjoys being with Stolas. It's not very present, but when you pay attention to certain scenes like Harvest Moon and Truth Seekers, you can definitely see that Blitz really has fallen head over heels for Stolas. It's just he's been burned by so many relationships gone wrong that it really makes it difficult for him to connect with Stolas in a healthy way. As for Stolas, well, he's something akin to that of a Disney prince. He just wants to be valued and happy. He tries to think for himself, as well as just trying to find the one thing that makes him happy. I mean, let's face it, Stolas lived a lonely life through practically childhood to adult years. So, of course, there are very few little things that ever brought him joy, Octavia and his plants being one of them. He tries to grin and bear it all, but it does feel like that Blitz seems to give him that sense of joy that he hasn't had for some time. But to make matters worse, he's a hopeless romantic and sometimes gets carried away with what he needs in a relationship. So of course it would make sense that by the time we get to Ozzy's, this is where both of them kind of realized how messed up their relationship was. While we didn't exactly see it in the supposed last episode of Season 1, at least we got to see that at least they admitted to each other how messed up their relationship is. And of course, when you have Stella into the mix, it is understandable that their relationship seems that Stolas is better than Stella and Stolas. One of the things that makes it so problematic is just how abusive Stella is. Don't get me wrong, I don't condone cheating, but Stella is just a piece of work. It's hard to sympathize with her too. Anyway, it does feel like that Stolas and Blitz are reaching to some understanding in Season 2. Stolas is actually taking some part and interest in Blitz's life, actually going as far as helping Blitz out when he gets himself into a pickle. While it wasn't exactly the way they hoped, it definitely seemed like they were getting a bit closer than they had been throughout all of Season 1. And I really do hope that this relationship works out. And again, I put it further up on the list because there's still some issues and problems, both in the writing and in the relationship in general. But I do feel like it has some promise to improve later on in the story. So, let's see what other couples we have going on, shall we? I kind of figured of putting these two up. Their relationship isn't as bad as Stolas, but yet at the same time, well, they're complicated, to say the least. So let me back this up a bit further in regards to why I say that. So, in the beginning of the series, they started as good enough friends. They really cared about each other and tried everything they can to serve the Horde, while still making sure that they don't get into too much trouble, though Adora is the one who always tries to drag Catra out of it. And of course, Catra buries her feelings of the trauma that she feels from Shadow Weaver from Adora and her true desires. And things definitely take a change for the better and worse, depending on how you want to look at this. For Adora, She soon learns the truth about the resistance and the weapon that she came across, thus learning that her whole entire life had been nothing more than a lie. So you can imagine some of the growth that Adora has to go to in terms of figuring out who she is and how she wants to fight. And of course, Adora is the one with the strongest moral code, wanting to put others before herself. And of course, this value that Adora has is what immediately causes these two girls to split apart. They were practically enemies throughout the majority of the entire series, butting heads, coming up with schemes to counter each other. And of course, Adora knows every nook and cranny of what Catra is capable of doing and knows how to take her on. And same goes for Catra. As I said that things could have been better or worse at the beginning of Season 1, for Catra things were just taking turn for the worse. With Adora gone, she struggles to get any more sense of value, attacking anyone, including Scorpia, with verbal and physical abuse. Now, her behavior isn't necessarily justified, but you understand the circumstances that she's coming from this abuse is very toxic. So of course the mindset she has is very struggling to break. It wasn't until Season 5, when she was in a very bit of despair, did she finally realize what she truly wanted out of life. Same could have been said for Adora at the end of Season 4. With the sword broken and the supposed power of She-Ra gone, Adora also had to struggle with what sort of identity she had for herself and what it meant to be a hero. So here's the thing about their dynamic. Adora helps with Catra's toxic negativity, as well as just help her be blunt with the truth that Catra likes to sweep under the rug. While at the same time, Catra definitely helps Adora become a little bit less selfless, or at least try to make sure that the mind process doesn't go into the thing of, I'm a soldier, I have to sacrifice myself for the good of Theria and everyone else. At the end of the day, these two finally admitted their feelings for each other. They do care, but they've been so consumed with expectations from other people that they soon realized that it meant nothing unless they're together. Their relationship has been through so much, and it took them a very long time to realize their feelings and what they want out of their life, which is probably why they're one of the great couples in this spot. Oh, you know exactly where we're gonna go with this relationship, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone adores these two ever since Ida's Requiem. They had a lot of history together. So it all began in What's Them's the Break Kids. So when Ida had to go to an If What competition, a special competition for witches, in order to get a very special ribbon for the school. Ironically enough, it was also where she met Rain, the only person who appreciated her crazy sense of humor and who she is as a person aside from Lilith. It lasted for a good while until the young adult years, and even Rain knew about Ida's curse. However, Ida's curse got really bad at that point, and of course, after the trauma that Ida went through with the curse, she tried to protect Rain from herself, even if it meant a breakup between Rain. So of course, Ida had now to be responsible for Luz and King, as well as, again, maintaining whatever control she has over her condition, which does make the relationship heartbreaking. And on top of that, the only thing that can make her cope is her found family, Luz and King. Without those two, I think she probably would have died of loneliness and consumed by her curse eventually. In a lot of ways, Rain is practically her voice of reason, giving her a chance to be a responsible adult, while at the same time learning to love herself in a healthy way. Though the struggle was a bit wild and long, it didn't change the fact that Ida still had feelings for Rain, even after their breakup. And of course, Rain is the smart one of the operation. They are very strategic and manage to put some logic in what they're capable of doing. They pay attention to certain skill sets. However, when it comes to people, they're very introverted, so they don't like any sort of social activities, including a little bit of playing on stage. One of the things that made Rain and Ida such a good relationship is that Ida inspired Rain to actually think for themselves, as well as come to an understanding of just how messed up the system really is. And upon that, it inspired Rain to take a stand against this tyranny. Though it resulted in a very dicey setback, it was also where Rain developed a bit as a character, still shy, but becoming a bit more proactive, as well as trying to do what's best for everyone, including Ida as well. I just hope Rain comes out okay after what we had just witnessed in For the Future. I mean, I just want them to live, and I just want Rain and Ida to finally get married. I don't care how many times I'll have to say it. I will keep saying it until they officially get back together and get married. Because these two are just a wonderful, wholesome couple with a few issues they need to fix up in the past, but still one that's worth watching. I'm pretty sure many of you are not too surprised by this addition on the list. What made it very shocking was it almost didn't come across as being possible at all at the very beginning of this series, so a lot has changed since then. So, of course, if some of you had remembered my wonderful opinions about Amity in the beginning of the series, and some of you who have previously subscribed to my channel probably already know of that in the beginning, Amity was exactly a fan favorite with everyone, basically becoming very mean and hostile towards everyone, as well as using her mental prowess to actually try to belittle everyone whenever possible. She was coming across as, of course, stereotypical mean girl and possibly another Regina George. However, we soon learned that all that behavior is caused by her narcissistic piece of work, Karen of a mother, who is, by the way, a total sociopath. She is basically the very reason why Amity was so obsessed with success, of why she had to do the things that were considered the Blight way. It was putting a very huge strain on Luz. So in a lot of ways, when we get to learn the real Amity, we definitely see a more softer side to her. She's very caring and supportive and wants nothing more than to figure out what she wants out of life. And of course, this is why Luz made such an impact on it. Luz helped Amity realize her goals in life, as well as come to an understanding that she needs to think on her own if she ever wants to get through life. And of course, it didn't become more clear of their relationship until Grom, where we definitely see Amity just staring at Luz with wonderment, as well as Luz being willing to take on Amity's replacement as Grom Queen. Little did they know that this venture was the start of the biggest step into their relationship that grew later on. Which was why Grom was such a wonderful episode. And of course, going back to Luz, she definitely had come a long way. While she appeared cheerful and optimistic, she struggled with a sense of belonging in her home world, well, technically the human realm. So she thought of going into the Boiling Isles in hopes of finding a fantastical place that could give her a sense of belonging. Over time, as she learned her skills as well as herself, she soon overcame some of her flaws as well as finding herself an accepting, lovely family, which is a lot of ways the biggest reasons why she also compliments Amity. So in a lot of ways, these two just really love and support each other, and as those mutual feelings began to grow, their characters were brought out more in a positive aspect. Luz helping Amity overcome some of her insecurities and actually think for herself, as well as standing up against her mother. While with Amity, she helps Luz feel genuine love towards herself, as well as assuring Luz that she is not going to be alone in this world and that there is someone waiting for her at the end of the day. Yeah, these two are put at number 2 for a very good reason. They're young love, but a young love that is very realistic as well as strong and healthy. They've been through so much, and of course with this final episode that's coming up possibly in April, we're going to see that this relationship go into full circle, and thus resulting in Lumity being one of the best relationships ever. No surprises with this one at all. And of course, why not? This character was practically the living definition of what a healthy relationship look like. So, when you have a fusion like Garnet, and in my defense, in the beginning of the series, I never suspected of being a fusion until we learned about the concept later. Garnet was practically obsessed with fusion and great relationships. At first it was odd until we finally found out why. It started out with two loving gems, Ruby and Sapphire, who one day came across Earth and fell in love with the beauty of this world, as well as after accidentally fusing, they began to find themselves in a very strange and marvelous relationship that not even Gem Society itself would ever dream of. Ruby definitely helps Sapphire in situations that calls for being spontaneous, as well as being the strength that Ruby needs whenever there's a physical situation. And Sapphire is Ruby's anchor when she gets too hot-headed and takes crazy risks. These two just complement each other so well. Throughout the entire series, these two are always worried about each other and just want the benefit of one another. And even when they fell apart over situations like Rose is Pink Diamond, they eventually get back together again because they realize of just how important and special their relationship is. And not even the diamonds are going to separate that. These two, again, are number 1 because they embody what a healthy relationship is, even among the LGBTQ community. This love is about respecting each other. Love is learning of how to work on those differences and loving those differences, flaws and all. And, of course, it's the reason why they are still the inspiration of relationship goals. So, folks, these are just my thoughts on these couples, and I'd like to hear yours. Just do a like, comment, and subscribe, as well as come check out the community channel whenever it is possible. This is Dragon Videos signing off.